The COVID experience has put you in your house for a while, like it has put me in my house and doing work remotely. Have you been able to be executive chairman remotely as well as you thought you would be? And what's the experience and what have you learned about yourself and your company in this COVID situation?
Well, I think we're all starved for some kind of physical interaction, meaning being in the same space. And I think there's huge value to that. We've also learned that there's a lot we can get done remotely from home and not with one another and operate quite efficiently in the process. So I'd say that, at least in my case, and I think also in the company's case, we've managed to do more than we ever thought was possible. It took a little bit of time to sort of find our equilibrium or gain our equilibrium. But once we did, and we established a pattern of communication and an effective way of working, including creating, we've done all right. That said, I don't think this is optimal for us, particularly on the creative side of our business.
And you expect that when COVID is behind us, that there are things you've learned and the company's learned about what you will do in the future in terms of how to manage the company differently or with more technology or not?
One of my instincts tells me that when this ends, and hopefully it will soon, people are going to be starved for being outside, being among other people. And I think there's going to be a huge rush out, getting out of their homes. Right. And by the way, and that might include going to offices, even though a lot has been said about people never going back to offices. I actually think the opposite will be the case initially. Now, do we have to be there every day? Probably not. We don't have to be there as much as we used to be. And I think there are definitely economies that we've learned to operate with under COVID that will apply in the future.